ReZero is quite special to me, and I guess that's kind of obvious based on the amount of videos that we've made on it, from analysis to discussion, even to D&D character builds. But today we're going to appreciate the small things that you wouldn't normally think about, and that just aid me or us loving the story even more. To be specific, we're not going to be talking about macro stuff such as character depth or plot, but specific choices that aren't really talked about that I greatly appreciate. Of course, if you disagree or think I said something that isn't necessarily correct, you're welcome to say something about it in the comments. But nevertheless, let's get into the video. Subaru is transported, not reincarnated. This is honestly a very personal preference, and for some isekai stories this may not be the best option. However, I simply prefer it this way a lot more. Subaru being transported isn't a reinvention of his character, at least in the way Subaru would want it to be. He is still the same Subaru, before and after he's transported. In my opinion, having it be a mysterious transportation adds more to the intrigue, and makes the fact that the story is an isekai more important. I don't know. Most isekai are pretty derivative of each other, and rather than trying to actually make themselves interesting with compelling characters and a well-built narrative, they always stick to gimmicks and light retellings. Oh wow, this character was isekai'd because X funny thing happened. Overall, I just believe this way of doing things aids more to the main character, because they're not something new after they've been isekai'd. No gods. Yeah, we're sticking with isekai conventions here. No, this entire video won't be just about how ReZero has taken more care into it in comparison to other isekais. I just wanted to get this part out of the way, because in contrast to my co-host Brad, I'm not really a fan of isekais at all. But to clarify, I'm not critiquing them out of spite. I'm pretty sure everyone at this point knows that they're pretty unoriginal. But maybe that applies to anime as a whole rather than just one genre. Anyway, I appreciate that ReZero doesn't really have gods, at least in the anime sense. You know, the actual, confirmable, genuine, you know what I mean, god. I mean, Elsa does make mention of the angels, and there's a so-called sword god, but there aren't any actual gods, and I just find that more interesting. I know they're not waterproof, and Tape lies quite a bit, but I believe he stated that there are no gods in the ReZero world, at least in the traditional sense. I can't find the Q&A for that one, so please take it with a grain of salt. I'm not just trying to lie. Subaru's main weapon. Honestly, I love the choice of whip for Subaru's main weapon. Not only is it unique, but it plays to Subaru's strengths, especially since he's not one to have raw power. It's not different for the sake of being different. It's genuinely interesting. Also, a funny note I could think of is how it kind of matches up with Terraria. Subaru as a spirit mage would be most comparable to the summoner class. And guess what kind of weapon that class uses? That's right, a whip. A little fan service. Yeah, I know what you're gonna say to this point. Oh yeah, the scene with Priscilla in season 3. Yeah bro, it took 3 fucking seasons to get anything like that in ReZero. It's extremely tame when it comes to its fan service. And very rarely does the direction choose to do, let's say, interesting shots. And I've made this joke before, but the character with the most quote-unquote fan service is Subaru, which, I mean, I'm not complaining. Now, before we move on, I'd like to take a little break to request that you subscribe to our channel. It'll help us out a lot, and we're going to do a lot of mixed anime video game content. But our main focus is ReZero and Persona. So if you're a fan of either of those two, I recommend sticking around, because there will be a lot more where that came from. Just to preface these next two, both of these are going to be kind of based on videos that I've already done, so they'll be fairly short. Technological intrigue. Although it's nowhere near the main focus of the series, there's a lot of interesting world-building notes regarding the technological era of ReZero's world. I'm going to be a little mean here, but if you genuinely think ReZero's world is a medieval fantasy, which is inconsistent with everything shown in the show, you're kind of stupid. And if you'd like to learn more, you should check out my other video. insert songs. Again, even though I've already made a video on this topic, I just think it's so important. Because the people behind ReZero understand how powerful the addition of these songs can be to the story, and how much more they bring to the table from the original source. I understand that ReZero's adaptation is far from perfect, but this and everything else the anime adds just makes it an important experience. Just as important as the light novels. Playing endings in the background. This part isn't necessarily unique to ReZero, but my feelings on how they do this is quite similar to my feelings about the insert songs. The production team has made wonderful decisions regarding whether to play the ending in the background, i.e. the first time Styx Helix plays at the end of episode 1, when Stay Alive plays at the end of episode 23, and Believe in You when it plays at the end of season 2 episode 24. There are loads of other examples, especially with Memento, but those are the moments that I found most impactful. This is quite anecdotal, but one of my friends who isn't as nearly into his ReZero as I am, remembers these songs profoundly because of the way that they're incorporated into the show. To finish up here, I know that people have mentioned this a lot, and for a good fucking reason. But ReZero having extended episodes is a godsend. It allows the story to breathe a lot more and have better pacing, and the studio does this at the expense of themselves. I understand that there's still cut content despite this, but it's honestly incredible that at this point, we fans can expect to have longer episodes. They're not just a once-in-a-while occurrence. And that is just cool. Conclusion. All of these are just smaller things that I appreciate about ReZero, and I wanted to make note of them because they need to be talked about more. These notes overall are just indicative of the quality that culminates into the amazing anime that is ReZero. Thank you for watching. I may not be the best at analyzing things or putting them into words, but I feel as though I have something important to bring to the table. If you like how I talk, how I write, or how I analyze, I recommend subscribing to the channel. Given that ReZero Season 3 has just ended, we're definitely in for a drought of ReZero content, at least until we're given a release date for Season 4. If you enjoy ReZero content, I recommend checking out our other videos, and subscribing for more, just to make that wait a little bit more bearable. Also, this channel is a team of two. Me and my co-host, Brett. We make some amazing videos as well, so you should check them out.